Hey, can you hear me now? Okay, I think I am audible now. Okay, amazing. Sorry for that. Now I need to start again. Not audible. Can hear your voice or mute. Can't hear him. Okay. No, sorry, it was my bad. Actually, I was mentioning about this new setup that I'm running, and the laptop microphone was selected, and microphone is folded in a way. I needed to select the input of the microphone that I have in front. So my bad there. Sorry. Let me start again. Hello, welcome to this Global Hack Week. My name is Alberto Camarena. I'm your mailing hacking coach from Mexico. Um, I am very excited to be here in this last day of the Global Hack Week. I love to stream, and right now I prepared two sessions. So this one, and we have another one just after this first is done. So 4 hours of fun. Um, how do I check in with the event ended? I think you can't. Sorry, there's a window where you can check in. But for this one, you can check in. And here's the link, and also here's the QR code. I love that new feature of StreamYard. Amazing. So you can hear me now. I was introducing myself. I was talking about how I'm excited about I am now for being here, and now we can get started with the slides. Um, Share screen here. Also, I'll be trying to keep an eye. This event ended. Oh, okay. I see what you mean because this event was supposed to be. Streamed yesterday, but I did change the schedule, so that's probably why you're getting that error. Give me a second. Sorry, my bad there. I think I can fix this. I should have enough permissions to do that. Uh, but let's see. My bad there. Sorry. Yeah, it's managed for March. What time is it? 19. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, for a reason, it's not allowing me to change the date for today. Okay, but I'll do an update and I publish this. Okay, in 5 you depend. Okay, okay, new update now. Um, if you refresh, that should allow you to register. So sorry that was closed. My bad there. I didn't check if it was updated. Um, yeah, also for a reason it didn't allow me to put the date on today's. I put tomorrow's, but don't worry, I just register without checking. I can check in later to you. But yeah, make sure to do that in order to get your community points. And now allow me to start sharing my screen. So MongoDB Atlas from zero to hero. In this first part, you will learn the fundamentals of Atlas and data in general and how it works for MongoDB. So this is not a session to introduce you to MongoDB. I have shown more of that in previous streams. There's actually a stream called MongoDB 101. If you go to ghw.mlh.io, you can find the recording for previous sessions. So I really recommend you go there and check it out after our session is done, because even it's not an introduction to MongoDB itself and the data foundations and document model and all the amazing stuff that MongoDB has to offer. I'm going to cover a little bit of it since, of course, it's a requirement, right, for using Atlas, and this is from zero to hero. So let's start from zero. Um, mm, what you'll build today. In this first part, you will create an Atlas cluster. Don't worry about the terminology here. We will explode that in future of the session. But we will have this Atlas cluster with sample data loaded, understand what the document model is. We are going to use the sample data called sample mflix.movies. You get an idea of what that refers to, right? So we're going to know and write basic queries and aggregation pipelines. Again, for fully understanding of what queries and aggregations are, go to the 101 MongoDB session. Um, and we're going to get the foundation ready for the part two, which is using more advanced features like search and vector search. Why this is important? I will say it's like a very, very common use case of searching data in a database, right? Um, and you will see the difference with doing that searching and what running a query is. So why MongoDB? Sorry, why MongoDB Atlas specifically? MongoDB is a no SQL database. So probably if you remember your classes and they already teach you what a SQL database is, um, there's another category which are not SQL, right? And to be fair, that's just a division, because now SQL database works really, really different from each other. For example, there's MongoDB, which is a document one, but we also have index databases, vector databases, which other ones? Um, there are many other examples, but my point here is each database there is no SQL, not like the SQL's one, work really differently between each other. And SQL databases were created or are based on a SQL language, right? For making queries and retrieving your data, modifying, and etc. The SQL bias, uh, which it's like thought for all the computer science students in classrooms, has to do with like understanding how a database works, right? Or at least that's why they want to teach us. And to be honest and to be fair in this point, I am no computer science, I am mechatronics engineering, so no one tried to teach me databases, at least and at university. So I didn't have that bias of saying, okay, if it's a database, it has to be SQL. That's not true. I understand databases thanks to MongoDB, and actually the first database I learned was MongoDB. That does that mean I'm MongoDB biased? Um, maybe. But no, the truth is that after learning MongoDB, I learned SQL, I learned other databases. For example, CockroachDB was one of the partners of the Mail League before. I also used Firestore from Firebase. Um, I have used Postgres, I have used Maria, I have used other that are not per se sequel, but that well that's complicated there. But my point is, I had struggles doing those other databases, and my struggles were, why should I do this? Like, what's the point in doing this if I can do database in the same language I'm running, in the language that for me was Python or JavaScript? Why should I learn a new language, which is SQL? And also, if it only matters the foundation, like running queries, understanding the performance of the database, what transformation of the data I'm trying to do, which are the aggregation pipelines. Um, does it truly matters that I'm not doing SQL? And the answer is it doesn't. Honestly, SQL it's great for reducing the size of the data you want to store. And SQL databases are outstanding in performance of reducing the size again, because this was meant to do that. SQL and relational databases were created for a time where storage was costly, and nowadays we don't have that struggle anymore. We have another ones more important. Let's say the time to application, time to market, the developers creating and building around applications, and maintaining those databases, that relations for their tables. That's a real struggle. That's complicated. Imagine just having one thing, one document to manage all your schema, right? And that schema can be flexible. It does not require you for all the entries in your table to be standardized, to be normalized. This schema allows you to have one document with one form containing A or B information, and another document containing A and C, or A and D. It doesn't matter actually if there's no standardization there. Your schema allows you to create and build for your application and evolve over that. Does that mean it's not robust? Of course it is. Does that mean it's not enterprise and full, let's say, big companies grade? No, it is. But it's also faster for developers to build them, and it adapts to you, not it makes you adapt to it, right? So that's MongoDB. Then what's MongoDB Atlas? It's just the managed cloud database service that MongoDB offers. So once you have dominated and understand that first MongoDB part, uh, the next step MongoDB takes for make things easier for you as developer, not only in document model and this flexible schema, it's don't you don't need to put the database running in your application in your machine, either like just with the CLI or even Docker and things like that. You can create a quick deployment of your database in MongoDB Atlas, and you can start for free. And that thing that's amazing, because for like I will say 90% of my projects that I just start and like test and develop on first stages, they are MongoDB Atlas. No need to create other things like set up local environments and complicate myself. I just start with Atlas. And after that, once you put everything on production, you can scale it up to being a service you pay for. But of course, that's just natural. You have to pay for every services, right? And MongoDB Atlas has a lot of advantages, not only in the developer side, let's say not only on easiness of use, but also about reliability, about, for example, being multi-cloud, that you can run AWS, Azure, GCP, and not just selecting one, but truly in all of them at the same time. Um, it handles backups, it handles replica sets, automated recovery, and monitor alerts. A lot of things like for the enterprise grade. And for us as hackers, maybe we are not talking about availability zones and about backups and about this yet, but it's a great thing for you to have already understand and have hands-on experience once you're like entering the market and planning to compete, if you're planning to run your own companies, or to be a great engineer if you're planning to be to work for a company, right? So right now we're not focusing on these replica sets, on these high availability zones. I'm going to show some of these features, but since I'm going to keep it like on the free tier, I'm just going to point you where you can learn more of this, and also where you can enable this. It's really really simple. You will see just UI, just selecting and pointing and setting up. Also, you have credits for using MongoDB Atlas. Yes, I mentioned it is free, but in case you want to play with these non-free scenarios, you can $50 of USD credits for MongoDB Atlas for 1 year. Um, I mean, you have to spend it in 1 year. With your GitHub Student Developer Pack. And well, that's why MongoDB Atlas. Also, if you have any question at any point, please leave it on the comments. I'll be keeping an eye on it. I am actually keeping an eye on the comments, and I see you haven't pointed anything. This normally it's of because of two things. Either I'm not explaining clear myself, because I know if I was explaining a lot of things clear, you probably have more questions, right? And the other one is probably there is no one here. I don't truly trust the number of viewers of StreamYard. I don't know how that works or how that monitors that. But I see someone here, which is my great friend for not found. And now you are added an 18. I don't know why it's that. Can you explain? Uh, okay, just jumping in to say hi. Really need to sleep. Makes sense. I don't know what times are you currently right now, or what time is it for you. For me, it's kind of late too. It's well, not that much. 7 p.m. I'll be finishing at 11 p.m. That time will be uh, more late for me to sleep. Uh, it's always been for not fine 19 or Twitch. Oh, maybe the 19. I didn't know this before. Maybe because of a lot of people trying to claim the 404 not fine just like that. Okay. Um, but yeah, I'll keep an eye on the comments just for you to have in mind. So, what Atlas automates for you? Server permissioning, it's automated. Just a few clicks. Actually, you will see how many clicks. I think I counted one time and it was three. Replica setup. it's already built in. Backups are continuous. I mean, again, not all of these are like out of the box. You have to enable them or to accept terms and conditions, things like that. But all of these are built in. That's the main point. Monitoring and storage, it's integrated. Security patches are managed, and the scaling, it's wall click. So, and even you can enable auto scaling. I think I had another slide here. Maybe I'm missing some of this, but it doesn't matter. It will come with time. Then I will start switching to a new tab. I'm going to open this, and you can look for MongoDB Atlas. Oh no, this was the Amazon one. Atlas database here. And you can sync in or get started as you wish. I'm going to click get started. MongoDB Atlas. You can create an account, sync up, or directly sync it in. For me, I have already synced in before, so I'm using my passkey. And you will see these reloads. So here I already have a cluster created. Why not? Let's remove this. Oh, in order for you to see the same as I'm saying, terminate. And while this loads, I'll show you another thing, which is GitHub. Well, let's use the MLH one. MLH.link slash GitHub. I'm going to share this link with you. And you will see that I have my coupon applied, my educational benefits, and everything. But for you, you will see and start an application. Start this application if you don't have your student developer pack yet. What does this student developer pack contains? Well, on the learn more, you will see that the where is the student developer pack? They add more clicks each time, but I want to get to this part. What's included there? They have so many bundles, but all the offers listed, Copilot for free. This was changed really recently. They used to give you Copilot Pro. Now they give you Copilot Students. What's the difference? They reduce the number of models you can access, but that's just that. You cannot access the most costly models anymore, but still it's great, right? Even though this it's a paid one, so having it for free again makes it worth it. And MongoDB, this is the one I wanted to share. You have the $50 on Atlas credits, and also you can get a free certification valued at $150. So you have like $200 of value here. How you get that? You can claim it here. You will find instructions and everything. But basically, when you claim that, if we go back to the MongoDB Atlas and I hit overview, here you will see my available credits. It says to me I still have the $50. I haven't used anything yet. I don't require them. But here you will see like apply the code and you enter the code from the previous page that I was sharing with the GitHub student developer pack. And now we can come back. And now I mentioned that about the $50 credits, I will show you how you can use them, right? You are going to create a cluster. And here, for example, you can start with the M10. The M10, it's the cheaper one. Well, no, you can go flexible, but again, like with the M10, you will have the first tier. Let's see if we can check the number of tiers that it transfer. Okay, where's the tiering? How to scale cloud backups, advanced configuration. Okay, here, uh, cluster tier. We have the M10, and we can set things like very manually. Let's say we don't want 10 gigabytes, but for a reason we want to increase this up to 128 gigabytes. Uh, that will of course change the price and things. But for example, we can change things for the upscale. We can start with an M10 and say, hey, if we're required at some point, please auto scale to me for an M50 up to an M300, right? Or M200. What's the pricing for an M200? You will see it's $15 the hour. So this will help you like for 2 hours if you're using the $50 credits, um, up to 3 hours. But there's no, I don't see any reason why you choose these 200. Like it's 260 and 56 gigabytes of RAM, uh, up to 1 terabyte and a half of storage, and 64 BCPUs, right? This is the tiering. And with these advanced things, we can set up not only the cluster tier, but for example, we were mentioning the prop out regioning, and we can enable the multi-cloud region. You can you may be wondering what's the benefit of the multi-cloud and the multi-region. Well, imagine AWS has a problem, and it has a problem on a specific zone or a specific region. Maybe if you're multi-region, you don't have that problem. Let's say you store on US East and US West, right? And just one of those zones had the problem, and the downtime. Then all the traffic for your database will be redirected to one of these. But let's say it's not the region, but it says all AWS, like as provider, has this downtime, and that happened. That has happened before. Um, you can select Google Cloud and start like playing around with this. For example, I'm going to change this to GCP and select I already in Mexico. The nearest one uh, could be either Ohio or North Virginia or South Carolina, and like add some of these nodes to increase it to, okay, let's do 4 nodes, 7 electable nodes. We can create even, and this is where it comes handy the other term, which is work isolation. Some of them to be just read only. So if we are playing with indexes, um, you can think of index same as in books. It will make faster for a query to find information. Like if you open the first page on the book, you see the index. This is on okay, this is on page 37. So you go to page 37 and you get your information really fast. That's another benefit of MongoDB. But same, it has a trade-off, because if you want to make a change on that information that has the index, it will slow the process. So that's why we have work isolation. Some nodes can be just for reads, and some nodes can be for the um, work, let's say the operation, the rest of the crew, and even other nodes can be just for analytics. So many things we can set up here on Atlas. Um, some other details about the tagging, the naming, global configuration. So for the moment, we see we in a very visual way. This is amazing also for where we see the availability. Also, it has the enable global rights, and it starts up to an M30. But just let's enable this for the sake of the demo. I'm not going to actually create this. So let's scale this up to an M30. Okay, this is selected now. I'm going to leave it where is it on the maximum to reduce. Again, it won't matter. I'm not going to actually create this, but now we can activate it with the global configuration. We can have an Atlas managed sharding and a self-managed sharding. What's a sharding? That's a concept of instead of putting all the information in just one node, we can select. And this comes also with compliances. For example, I think it's for the Europe. Yeah, I forgot what it was the regulation there. But for Europe, you are required to store the information that your European citizens are generating inside Europe. So you share it based on location. Let's say if someone connects to the database from Europe, that will be selected and sort of storage and queried on Europe. So all these advanced features that are not maybe uh, needed on a hackathon are great also for us to know as hackers, again, for our career and just to keep that in mind for being a very useful information, right? Sorry, off topic. How does MLH swag work? Do we need to hit certain threshold, or they will email us? Yeah, I think you need to have some points generated, like for check-ins, and there are other challenges for the global hack week when you participate on this. Um, and there's a link that's mlh.link slash address. Let me just quickly check if this one should be redirected to, yeah, this one. So you should need to fill this one in with the same information of your account, and there you will see receive your stickers and swag. And they also run raffles like periodically on the Discord server. So if you win one of those, you can also earn more swag. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for the question. And that also give us a break of what we were doing. Again, for this dedicated one, that's how we can set it up. There's also the flexible one. All of these are pay as you go. But for the purpose of this, we're going to create a free one. I'm going to select AWS and Virginia, which is US East 1. Uh, for the capacity, I cannot change anymore because this is the free one. Again, operations per second, 0 to 100. What's an operation? All the transactions we can do, the read, the create, the update, the delete. I just have half gigabyte of storage. My RAM and CPUs are shared, and I can speed up to 500 connections per collection, right? And connections, databases, and collections, 500 each, right? Again, this is more than enough for a database for a hackathon purpose. We want to develop, we want to really put our application up and running in seconds. And if I hadn't got the time to explain everything this for you, uh, this can be done in under 2 minutes or even less, under 1 minute. Just create cluster, select free, come here, select the provider and the region you want, and hit here on create cluster. And let's see. Uh, is this live recorded so I can review it later? Yeah, of course it is. After the session is done, it has some time for you to process it and to upload it. But if you go to the Melee Hacking page at YouTube, you can find the live recordings. Also, you can head to ghw.mlh.io, and there you can find the link for the YouTube channel, whatever it's easier for you. Here, username and password, I'm going to create a username called Alberto, and I'm going to create it a password. I'm going to auto-generate this password. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to create the user. Oh, this one's already exists. So I'm going to, well, if this already exists, then I don't need to because I already have admin and I already have Albert. So this is some of the security points. I'm going to cover this more in depth lately, but it's like the step it takes us since probably Atlas is thinking we are newers. For some of these attendees of the session, you are, so please set up your username and password. You can go and make certificates once. Um, this is more advanced security features, but we can stay and stick to these user and password ones for this session. Like to connect from local environment or cloud environments. My local environment, what can that be? Well, this again, it's more advanced in the future, but for example, oh, I can delete this. I can delete this as well. Remove this other one. And I'm pretty sure these others I can delete. Okay, great. Be sure your IP address is listed here, and also you can include this wildcard, which is 0.0.0.0/0, which means you can get access from any IP address from the world. So it doesn't matter actually what other things are listed here if you already have this one. But of course, I only recommend this to be enabled for development purposes, of course, not for final products. And yeah, it's it. Uh, uh, um, the email us check your mailbox. I received back basic swap for MLH. Check your mailbox. Alberto, random question. Where is the final hour to submit all of our challenges? Oh, that's a great question. I'm not sure, but we can check out on ghw.mlh.io. Probably here it's that. Challenges, feature, fill out or address form, beginner, no code registration, most popular. Check into the Cloud Week. What are challenges we have? Okay. Feature. fill out the address form. So if we do this, yeah. Challenge yourself to the world. Okay, let's go to the most popular. Single for the student, introduction to GitHub, code with code spaces, Singapore for GAFA. Okay, I think the answer is it depends on the challenge. So, for example, this GAFA one, I think that already happened. So if I click here, GAFA is a simple REST API browser. Singapore. Okay, now this is not for singing up for the event. So I would say just come here and select the challenge you want, and if it allows you to still do it, then do it. Um, my guess will be at the end of the Global Hack Week, and that's on closing ceremony happens at midday on the last day, which is Thursday, 19. So for me, that will be tomorrow, and that's ET time or the New York time. So be sure that you're considering the time differences. Have been doing them, but haven't submit any of them. Yeah, make sure to submit so you can get your points. Uh, you will not get. Sorry. I asked when it's the final hour, last day, last minute to submit projects. Or yeah, my guess will be that will close the closing ceremony. So be sure to do it before that. It's not tonight. See if you can find it. Imagine me. Yeah, that's a great question though. There's a ask on the Discord channel. Uh, yeah, there's ask Global Hack Week. So on the Global Hack Week section, you can ask that thing there, and there's some of the team like answering those questions. So I recommend you ask that same question there. That's interesting. I think I never that myself. I promise you, I asked. Oh, it's that. Let me see. Swag sessions. Oh. Okay, then I can ask directly. No worries. No worries. This is part of it. Actually, I take advantage of this break and clean my nose. I'm going to remove this off screen. Awesome. Now I'm back. Yeah, no worries. I'm asking you actually in on our Slack. If I get the answer before the stream is done, I'll get that to you. Okay, I ask now. So let's return to yeah, environment, cloud environments, and everything. So we can finish and close. Congratulations on setting up your access rule. Go to overview, and by this far, I should already have this cluster. And let me return to the Atlas hierarchy, I'm going to do one step more. So put attention here. After you created your cluster, we're going to fill it with data. The data one, we are going to either create an application with AI, connect to the Mongo shell, and push our data if we already have at CSV, a JSON file, things like that. We can load, migrate, or import. But the one we're going to do right now, it's a load that data. We're going to load a catalog of data that MongoDB has, which is the sample influx. We have more. We have things like Airbnbs, analytics, geospatial, restaurants, training, weather data. But I think the influx one is very useful for the purpose of this session. Actually, I created the idea of the project based on this data. So we're going to start loading it. Where you can get more data? Well, you can head to Kaggle datasets, and here they are a lot of information and a lot of datasets like music, trending, computer science, education, classification, NLP, data, visualization, Oasis Live, AI-driven cloud marketplace, what other things, for example, antenna performance. So you can find a lot of information here. I can look even at data set for coffee, for example. Coffee sales, coffee data set, coffee shop sales. Well, you'll see there's a lot of information here to be shared. Here, I'll share the link with you so you can have it more handy. Data sets with an S. Okay. Um, yeah, and let's go back. This is being added, so right now we should have our data here. Yeah, we have it. We have the sample influx. You will see here on our cluster, we have databases. We have a local database, we have an admin database, and we have now the sample influx database. Inside our databases, we have our collections. But let's go a step back, right? Which is the thing I want to show here on UI hierarchy. We have organizations. What's an organization? Right now, I'm under my MongoDB organization. We can switch. For example, I have another one created that's called Alberto's organization. I don't want to be that. Uh, okay. View organization. Yeah. So here, under the root, I have profile info, security, invitations, preferences, and a legacy chapter of authentication. Now we have the organization. We have created organizations. For these two, I'm the owner and everything. I think this one was the one created when I joined the university, MongoDB University. I will go to talk about that later. But for the moment, this is my MongoDB one. And then we have projects. So for each organization, we can create projects. In this case, I have a MongoDB Ed1 for educational purposes, but we can create new project and keep text. Why all of this mess? Why all of these things? Well, for the security, for granular permissions, for again, for I know a lot of things I'll be talking of during the session are like an overkill for a hackathon project, and that's completely true. You can expose your application to everyone, to let anyone access your app, play and inject sample data or source data from other or third parties. Um, a lot of not good or not best practices because you want to develop fast, right? Again, MongoDB allows you with the fastness. That's the main idea of the being fastness in MongoDB and MongoDB Atlas, but also robustness, security, availability, and all of the other great things that a software engineer has to worry about are coming with MongoDB Atlas. And even though if you're not applying all of these rules or all of these scenarios for a hackathon, uh, you definitely need to have that in mind again for your future role positions, for your future entrepreneurship, for if you want to create an application. Like I met a lot of guys at hackathons and girls that are like, I'm going to create my own company, which is great, but you have to be worried about security. And for most, I will say, um, when it comes to you, when it's your responsibility, your users' data, that can be a nightmare, like you're responsible a lot of things there. And with MongoDB Atlas, I won't say like you take off that your shoulder, because you still are responsible for a lot of things. But this shared responsibility, it's just amazing, and it will help you like have a good rest at night. Then after the projects, we can have clusters. Again, this one it's free. You can imagine like the cluster as the physical device where your information is living. So for this one, we have technical specifications. Again, a storage size, a RAM or a RAM, a processing, and a RAM size. Um, and connections and how many collections we can have there, right? So for these physical devices, we have those specifications. Then we have database inside these collections. And for that, we can come here on the Data Explorer. This is the cluster. I'm going to connect to this cluster. And we have the databases, right? I mentioned this admin, this local, and the sample amplix. We know we load this sample amplix one from like the ones that come with MongoDB, like the sample data. But what are these admin and local? Well, these admin one and local are now empty, um, but well, you will see that they are a little empty, but they will store information for your cluster to run. In this case, for example, the local one, it's the logs for what we are doing, and the admin one, like for if we have or we want more granular control or what's accessing our database. Um, and finally, the document inside it. Sorry, no, I forgot. Inside databases, there are collections which can be seen in this folder one. So database, collection, and inside the collections, now we reach to the documents. So for some of you that are completely new to MongoDB, not just MongoDB Atlas, which is the cloud um, database. Now, let me grab some water. Um, this one makes sense, right? Because you come from relational, and in relational, we have our database. For the database, we have tables, and we have many tables. And I love to do analogies here. Um, Imagine you're a doctor and you have a system, a platform, and everything that in the computer it's what stores your information, the information for your patients, and you need to see your the information of your patients that you have just in front of you. So you ask Mr. Mona, Mrs. Mona, uh, when it was her last appointment. and then you have to go out to your archives and start looking first for Mr. Mona profile, and you see that Mrs. Mona, sorry, profile has her name, her gender, her, I don't know, let's say her age, and then a bunch of references for when it was her last appointment, or a table of appointments, and then you look on the table of on the space of appointments, and you see and you look for Mrs. Mona ID, and you see like the cross references for the previous table, and you end up like doing a lot of research, a lot of your database, just to find the information you're looking for. And in computing, that may not be like a lot of trouble, since the performance of computers give you that in milliseconds, seconds. It depends on how you generate your query, and how messed up is your schema. But again, that is not human readable. That's not developer readable, because we're developers. You're not doctor, but you're the one creating the system for the doctor. And having just that information available for you in a document, it's way much easier. At the end, you have to construct the same document for the doctor to actually be useful. The doctor will need to see a document with the name, the gender, and other basic information, the last appointments, if there are some studies or some medical exams that the doctor asked Mrs. Mona for reviewing, should be able to see it there. So why not like avoiding all the constructing of the document inside your application, and just storing data in your application? In MongoDB, it said what it's stored together. No, sorry, what it's used together, it's stored together. So you don't have to be looking for it in many ways. This, as an example, it's a database that contains movie information. So why don't we see the movies? We just have the collection of the movies, and in each collection we have things like the ID, a plot describing what is for, a group of bandits stage a racing train hold up only to find at the turn, and blah blah blah. Right? Gender, a list of, I don't know, sorry, yeah, an array of genders. This is Western. This is short. The cast containing A.G. Abdi, Gilbert, George, Justice, a lot of things. Title: The Great Train Robbery. A poster, if we open this, is a link of a string containing an image. Full plot, languages, released, directors, and all the useful information we want to see from a movie. It doesn't make sense like having a movie table, like referencing, for example, in a movie table, and then and another table referencing different parts of what we want to get here, like the directors, like the posters, like the cast, like the genders. And you may be wondering, like, hey, what happened if you just want the cast? Hey, it doesn't matter. You can look for the cast inside the movie folder. And if, like, right now we don't have specific information about each member of the cast, because this is not another, it's about the cast. But if we had to, we can even do that. There's two ways of doing this in MongoDB. This is an embedded one, so like objects, you just put it inside the cast object, or now you can create an ID here and you do reference it. But It will define how you create your schemas. There's a complete course on the MongoDB University on how to do schemas. Um, so I just wanted to make that small pass to explain what the document model is, how the documents at MongoDB looks like, and how this replaces the mindset of a table. We don't need tables. We need these documents for us to access information for humans and to be readable, right? Uh, Again, humans, humans developers. And well, now that you're familiar with this, let's move on to the next part. Oh, I think I just blipped for a second. Uh, I just want to confirm it. Everyone's still there. Uh, am I still streaming? Okay. So some of the features we are going to use today, it's the Atlas UI, the sample dataset, Atlas search, vector search, and compass. If at this point you haven't been followed, again, okay, it's good, amazing. If at this point you haven't been followed, don't worry, you can do this on your own time. The stream is being recorded. But I also want to mention you that, again, remind you, sorry, that the stream is going to be two parts. One right now, ending in 40 minutes or so, and then another part at 11 p.m. ET time. And that will be ending at 1 a.m. ET time. So Atlas search and vector search are going to be reserved for that second part. Right now, we're going to create everything else in order for this to work. And that lets me, okay, before going to the movie discovery experience, I'm going to open Compass. So I already showed you how you can do this with the Data Explorer inside Atlas. But it will depend a lot on your day-to-day workflows, how you can access and how you need to visualize this information. I use a lot one tool called MongoDB Compass. And inside here on our clusters, we can see the connect. So on connect, there are many ways you can connect to your cluster. The first one, it's the drivers. I'm going to explain later today what a driver is, but in simple words, it's the traductor from the language you're using. Again, like Node.js, Python, Go, Java, C Sharp, C++, etc. Perl. A lot of developer programming languages to connect to MongoDB and make use of this as in your native language. Um, the difference again, it's you don't have to write queries or have to learn another. Um no, it's not programming language, but it's a core language. You don't have to learn all of those. You need to use the same language you're doing, and you have methods and instances to access your data, to modify it. You use things like read, update one, update many, read, get one, get many, things like that. Right? That's the driver. So this one's the programmatic one. Then we can do it in Compass, which is the one I'm going to give you a heads up right now. You can explore, modify, and visualize data, same as we're doing now in the web, but with a UI that's an application inside your computer. Again, in my day-to-day, I use Compass a lot. I just found it handy to have a self application. But if you don't want to, that's completely fine. You can just use the Data Explorer here at Atlas, and that's valid. Also, you can do it with Shell. And for the Visual Studio Code fans, yes, you can do Visual Studio as well. There is also one thing called the Atlas SQL that can help you like connect this to SQL tools for data analysis and visualization. This one's for the people that's already used for those tools. If you're not used to that, I really don't recommend like doing this and dedicating time to learn and to go there and everything. Again, this is just for the people that was already in that world and to helping them get this step uh, to MongoDB. So on Atlas, sorry, on Compass, you can select, I don't have Compass installed, select your OS, in my case it's Mac ARM64 for an Apple Silicon, and you can download it, or you can copy the download URL and open on a safe browser. It depends on what you're doing right now. In my case, I already have that installed. I'm going to select the version. I always recommend the latest version, and this will give you an URI. These URIs are the core on how you connect to MongoDB, either in your local, if you're running MongoDB on a local instance, on a virtual machine elsewhere, or here on Atlas. You need this, and I recommend you copy this. Actually, it's really simple to see how these are structured. It's the username and the password what we need to replace. Remember, I already have two created, and you already create one when we set up the cluster. Well, that's the one we need to replace. And then we hit done. MongoDB guides you through all of this really simple, to be honest. And the documentation, it's beautiful. Another thing I want to talk about now is, for example, if you have any questions and I'm not around or the stream has already finished, you can come here and select on the docs or the forums, and you will have a lot of resources there also to get you unlocked. So I have here this Compass opened. I have already a connection, but I'm going to disconnect and delete. And I'm going to open a new connection, add a new connection. This, for example, it's prepared for the local host. If we were running a MongoDB on our machines, we're doing Atlas, so we can do this. Username, I'm going to select admin. And let me remind myself the password. Admin, edit password, generate new one, copy new one, update. Don't bother in even like trying to copy and freeze the screen. This will be dying just after the stream is done. So here we paste the password, we save and connect, and here we are under the same things that we had on our Data Explorer. We have the admin, the local, and the sample mflix with all our collections, comments, movies, sessions, teachers, and users, right? Great. Now we can go to the next part, which is the movie discovery experience. I'm going to take a moment to see your comments. It's good. It's good. Excellent lecture. Thank you so much. That non what that non-child SQL database working is awesome. I didn't get that. Sorry. The non-child SQL database. Yeah, sorry, maybe it's me. If you can explain under the comments, I'll appreciate that. Okay, let's also do a quick pause before doing the data discovery. I need to get some more water, and I will give you 2 minutes while I get some water to try to follow if you're doing. If not, if you want to replicate this at your own pace later after the session it's record and to watch it slower, don't worry. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Mm, just let me put an announcement here. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, great. We're back. Hey, I'm back now. Let me remove this. Uh, Amazing. So, thanks, Alberto. Did you find about the dates? Sorry to book you. Oh, let me check. Okay, no answer yet. Sorry. I'll give it another try before the session is done to see if I had any reply. But yeah, no for the moment. Okay, we were talking about the discovery experience, and we measure there are two main ways we can do this with the data explorer. That's on the, well, not two main ways. I want to correct myself. I show you two ways to do it. There are many more. We talk about the drivers. You can create a script if you are like more into that. You can do it in Visual Studio Code. There's a SQL translator for SQL tools. There is also, um, well, but the point here is we're going to do it on Compass, uh, which is like the UI, GUI visualization for that. And we're going to explore in the movies one, um, data set with more than 23,000 movies. So is that correct? If we come to the movies, and in Atlas, it tells us 21K. So maybe that's not correct. I need to correct the slide. Sorry, it says around. Last time I pulled this, I don't know if it's based on any data source control. I'm not sure. Features will be shared together. Oh, sorry. Features will build together. Actually, this is not built together. This was already built, but we are going to make sure this works properly. It's a search bar. So in our project, we are going to create catalog movie browsing thing. So we have our movies, and we're going to be able to look for them, right? So full search bar. I don't know if you already have tried to do this, but it's not as easy as it might look. So imagine you look for scary movie, right? And if you misspell a word, or you don't have an exact match, then your search functionalities are not the best, at least not for an end user. Maybe you know how this works. If you create your application, and you're using it for a b reason, you can know like, oh yeah, it was my bad, I misspelled it, I'm not looking for that, so it won't have an exact match on the query you're performing. The end user doesn't care. All users want an answer when we look for something. Even me, I'm one of those. Like it says, like I'm not getting results. It's kind of frustrating. You want to see an answer, even if it is not what you were looking for. The closest thing you could get, it's fair enough. It's good enough. It's better than no answer at all. So we're going to create that search bar. We're also going to create a filter panel, like ranges on what we want, some genders, minimum IMDb rating, um, things like that, right? And the result list is going to be paginated, high quality, match, and things like that. Can we do this without a backend? That's an interesting question. Just full MongoDB aggregation pipeline, vector search, and things like that. I would say it's fairly possible, and you will discover how. And more like this with vector similarity recommendations. A movie document looks like the one we're showing. Can we compare? Yeah, it's fair enough, right? So, reach a nest structure. What do we mean by the nest structure? See the IMDM. Under IMDM, and I'm showing this on Compass so it can be more readable. Let me make it bigger. We have a ratings and a votes and an ID. Why is this structure like this? I'm not completely sure, but this is the database we have for working on, right? Is it the best practice? I'm not sure about the ID, honestly. But we know we have the rating and the voting, right? Rating is 8.8 and too many votes. So it is important, and you may be wondering, why are we doing all of this? To get familiar with data you are going to work. Same in this resource I shared with you, like with Kaggle. If you are planning to look for competence there on doing analyses, running machine learning models, and things like that, one of the first steps every time it's getting familiar with the data. In this case, we are departing from an interesting point, which is the data it's already there, and we want to create an application to use it. But vice versa, the other way, like you want an application, and the application is going to create data, and at the end, the application is going to use the data. Um, but when you master that, like when you are the owner of how the data is going to be created, uh, a serious schema design, and not the traditional SQL for tables and everything, but a a schema design for documents. It's very important, right? In this case, we need to get familiar with the data. That we are not designing it. We just need to create. Sorry, we just need to get familiar with it's already there. And that leads me to a very important thing about MongoDB. MongoDB it's easy to use, very easy to use, but it can be hard to master. So every topic and everything we are going to create here is going to have an easy mode and a mastery mode. So again, MongoDB it's already there. It has all of the things for you to use that are not so trivial functionalities out of the box and ready to be implemented. On the mastery mode, we are going to get more insights on the why and why these choices matter. Um, so let's start with the easy mode. Clusters and the sample data. Right now, we already create the cluster, we already create our sample data, and that was what, under 3 minutes? That's great. Um, for loading the sample data, we only selected on the various ways we can get data into our cluster. Remember, we can just dump it in a file, import it via the Mongo shell, um, and here we load the sample data, right? So for the moment, that's already there. What's inside? Some movies collections, users, and theaters, and sorry, I received a notification for the following session, and everything. We already connect to Compass. We this is great. I think we didn't try this before, but we can look for data. This is a query typer, or how we can create queries. And this first query, it's going to look for the year and the gender's action. So every document inside this collection that fits under these two criteria will be shown. These are 116. So the year is 2010 and an action movie. So from our collection, I'm not talking about every movie in the world, but from our collection in year 2010, 116 movies were released. That's an insight we can get from this query, right? That's interesting. So basic query. We can do this again. I showed you how to do it in uh, Atlas. and encompass, but we can also do it in the UI, right? Let me move to the folder which I created for this. I forgot the name. It was MongoDB Atlas. Atlas 0 to 0. Okay. I'm just making sure I have the Mongo shell installed because not all the time I use this. Okay, let's connect then to the Mongo shell so I can show you how that works. Shell, I already have Mongo shell installed. And Mongo shell. And this is going to let me to admin. And let me copy the database. Disconnect. Let the connection. Let the connection string confirm. Just connect. Okay, this is already being connected. Admin, it's going to ask me for the password. There you are, and I'm connected, right? Here we can do the same. Find action movies from 2010. And why it's different here? Well, first we need to set the use sample mflix. Now we are under the sample mflix database. We're connected to a cluster. Remember the scale folding? We are now connected to a cluster thanks to this URI that we have. That's what our admin and well, username and password allow us. Now we need to use the specific database we want. So under the cluster, we use the sample mflix database. And now db.movies.find, and we are going to look for the year, genders, action, and if we delete all of this, we're going to receive the same 116 that encompass. Is this scalable? No, but hey, we have our answer. We can do one thing, that's the limit. And we can apply a 5 limits, right? So we have the first 5. Under what conditions are these the first 5? Well, that could be on the storage indexing, the first come first serve, but like we are not sure. We can sort this like with many other things. For example, with the title, and with the ranking, for example, saying so title, year, and rating IDM are our sorting features here. The one gives us like the direction of the sorting. It could be 1 or -1. But here specifically, we don't care about the sorting. That was just for demonstrating the purpose of making the queries on Mongo shell, right? We can also count this. well, the query here was count the number of movies that has a rating of 8, but we can change that for being the same as we have here. And we have the 116. So basically, we're doing the same. Just here, we're doing that under a more UI friendly feature. Here, for example, we can just run it without any other thing. We can expand this on the options to do more interesting things like the limit we mentioned. Again, like this is how just we construct it with sort fields and the limit field. That will be the same that's happening here. But for this one, I mentioned you don't have to learn a language. That still is completely true, but you do have to learn some of these methods, like the count documents, like the find, which it's not that complicated, but still, like Compass, it's more simple to use. Again, it's up to preferences. Some people still want the shell, and of course, it's landing speed compared to UI. Um, so for the master mode, let's now talk a little bit of projects versus clusters. I think I already mentioned this at some point before. Sorry if I already like go ahead and spoil my own slides. I just like to talk about things when I think they are essential. If I skip my slides, that's also normal. But it's an isolated namespace for the access control. Again, like we can set up the users, the network rules, the billing, and for example, you saw I had different projects, so I can use my credits only in the one I attach it. So for best practices, we can have different projects for dev, staging, and production environments. The clusters are the actual database deployment. Remember, I'm going to database between codes. I like to mention it more like the device, if you can think of, because inside the clusters you have the databases. And we mentioned the differences between the M0 and the other tiers. But yeah, one cluster per environment, no cluster per application. Mastery mode is the connection strings. Here, what it can comes like complicated. It's I mentioned the sections are easy to identify, but for example, here MongoDB tells the author, and the plus SRB, it's the record lookup handles replica set discovery automatically. What does that mean? Um, for the moment, you don't worry about it. Replica sets are how we ensure the information's available. In this case, you can start with just one replica set. Uh, that's not something you don't have to worry about when you use MongoDB on Atlas. At least not at the first stage. Again, for hackathons and things like that. But you will see this SRB commonly in your OS. So for reference, I wanted to include that. So nobody tells you lies, and you know what that SRB is, because sometime I heard someone say like, no, it's a security new protocol, like because a lot of people see the HTTP and the WebSocket like WSS, and they say it's like that. the truth is not. It's like for MongoDB internal. Um, so yeah, retry writes true. Auto retries on failed networks. Then the other ones are super simple: user password and the cluster name, right? And that's it. So for the project we are using, you always see that env when you need to replace this with your current user, password, and the cluster. You can include the retries rights, and there are more optional queries here, but for the moment, this is the most common one, the file one, I would say, and you can even have that working without it. So no worries for the moment. Same, I was mentioning this about the database users. If we can come back, there are two differences. For example, for the project identity and access, this is for like the Atlas access. For this Atlas, I only have access to this project. There is no more users. I can embed colleagues. We can create an application with AI and things like that. But for the moment, there's only me here. We have applications, teams, and things like that. Uh, Again, no one thing we'll be using for the sake of this workshop. Now, database and network access, this is the users that our database is going to have. I have this admin one for example, Atlas, Compass, and the shell. And I have this Alberto one for the application. This actually can be more there in a real term, like for example, to front end. It's just an example. I generate the application, I select and I paste it a description like URI for the app for the front end to access the right. And now these select roles, I think that will be important. Here I just give like Atlas admin, read and write to any database, read any database. Does that come handy for the best practice we want to encourage here? No. We maybe select a custom role. We don't have custom roles yet, so we can create a custom role on here, add a new custom role. Let's say app uh, movie app. We select the Mflix sample Mflix application, sorry, database. Um, and even we can give it to a specific collection. In this case, no specific collection needed. So I'm going to add that custom role. Okay. Mm, mm, to any collection. Okay. Okay, yeah, and what we want to give, right? For collections or for databases or global actions. I will say in this case will be for database actions, not built in roles, actions, database management, service administration, uh, and now profile, drop database, diagnostic. Okay, see, this will be like, why did the application want to do this? It doesn't make sense. So we only want the application to have the built-in roles, read read write, and not even the admin. So only read write. Read write permission to sample mflix. Is that how it's spelled? Sample mflix. Yeah, to all of the collections. We create this custom role. Then we go to database users back again, and let's say user will be mflix app. We generate the password. We use a description. We say mflix UI for sample database. We give the custom role we already created. It's the movie app. Yep. And restrict access to specific cluster federated specific privileges. Okay, that should be enough. So we see we have this now with the movie app admin role. And it's admin because it has access to all of the collections inside the application, but it's only here, right? Um, resources. Yep, and we only want this for the cluster zero. That's a good also. One cluster, zero federated, zero streams, zero instances, just for cluster zero. So in difference of admin and Alberto, this app only will be useful for the application we are going to use and we're going to create. Yep. Now, once that's said, we this one grant the minimum privilege needed. I do recommend doing that every time. Um, by default, not all IPs are allowed to connect, so you can add your own IP to your list, or you can add this temporarily. For production, of course, don't do this. Oh, we're running out of time for the next stream, so I'm going to cut this session here. I'm going to give you these 10 minutes for completing the first lap if you're not planning to join us on the part two. If you're planning to join us on part two, uh, do do everything we already did. Creating the cluster, load the sample database, connect to Compass or the Mongo shell or whatever you prefer, and explore the data. If you want to join us for section so for part two, and if you want to follow along, do that. You have these 10 minutes before the next part starts. If you don't want to join us or don't have time because these are two different sessions, that's fair enough. I really recommend you come back for part two. And if you, again, are not able to, go watch the recording any other day. And, well, thanks a lot for joining me. I'll be continuing this on the next part. And, well, it was my pleasure to have you all here. Any other question? Well, any questions before I close this first part? I will look forward to the deadline announcement somewhere. Yeah, sorry, because I think everyone's asleep right now. I don't have an answer for that yet. But yeah, thanks for being here. I will give you these 10 minutes for the ones that are planning to join us on part two. And well, see you there. Happy hacking.